Tell me when you're ready. Perfect. Go ahead to start. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. My name is Loraine Lawrence, and I work for Microsoft in Canada, but part of the North American group. And I'm here to talk to you about it, cloud computing and what it is. So very general. We're going to start. I'm going to talk about some of the growing fields in the industry as well. And we're going to talk about a few subjects regarding cloud computing, so you can get a little dabble, understand what it is, decide if it's what you want to study or where you want to go from here. But that's part of the stuff we're going to talk about today. I will stop at the end for questions, so hopefully I won't have too many slides, but feel free to ask questions along the way if you have anything that comes up, or if you have any detailed questions or something that needs a longer answer, I'll be happy to do it at the end. So hopefully you can see my screen. I'm going to continue, get rid of this. There we go. So starting off with cloud computing, you hear that term all the time. Let me go switch slides. Hold on. Let me see if how I advance. Okay, wait, there we go. Okay, just in case you missed last week's presentation, I'm from Microsoft. I was a Salesforce and Workday trainer prior to this. I also worked at Apple as a trainer. I'm an organizational change manager and a Scrum Master as well. So a little bit of rounded of a background, but I'm so honored and blessed to be a part of Microsoft. They're doing some incredible things, especially in the learning environment for people of all ages. And we have so many different programs, and I'll show you some of those at the end as well. So we have so many different programs that you can participate in, get certifications, and they're so valuable. I will tell you more about that too near the end, but they are so important for your growth. So you have to figure out what you love, first of all, and then specialize in that field. And there's so many fields out there. So take your pick when I show you the list, but find something. And honestly, these fields are very, very important. I get people all the time, and I think I even have a survey. If you have a certification, even just the basic one, 20 to 30% job satisfaction, first of all, you're more valuable to your customer and your employer, and you also will get an increase in salary. Like it's just crazy, because they show this verifies that you are good at whatever field you say, not just say I'm good at this. I have a certification proving that I'm good at this. So it's very important to get those certifications. And we have right now Microsoft has a huge campaign giving out free certifications. Yes, the word is free. I'm going to show you how to sign up for those free certifications and get as many of the free ones as you can. They're worth $99 US prior to this campaign that they were doing. So they're worth a lot of money. So you want to consider them and get them wherever possible. I'm going to show you the first 5 or something that are free. There's other ones you can self-study, so you don't have to pay for any expensive courses, and then take that exam. You can get discount exams if you're displaced for COVID. I will also show you that link as well. We've got some amazing campaigns on, and just not to only promote Microsoft, but that's the only one I know that's so good. And I have people contact me all the time about this new job they got or this new position they got because of their certification. So very, very important to you and very important to your career. So do it for yourself is what I say. Do this certification for yourself because it benefits you and your future. So very important. That's my plug for certifications. So let's go on and talk about what cloud computing is. Is the term new to you? Anyone, is it really new to you? Come off mute. Is it new, or have you heard about it before? Tell me about what you think about cloud computing. Is anyone, is it new? If new, put up your hand. Okay, I'm going to go on. So I'm going to say, if you play any of these games, cloud computing should not be new to you, because this is all on the cloud. If you're in World of Warcraft or you play on Xbox games, this all happens in the cloud. So you are using cloud computing. You may not know it. Even if you're in Fortnite or any of those games online, you are definitely using cloud computing. Okay, so you may not know it, but you definitely are using it. So cloud computing, for most people, when I teach it, it's I teach various divisions of people, starting from the marketing people to the actual engineers. And it's a very vague field, I'm going to say, but it's really not that vague. Everyone is using it in the behind the scenes, like I talked about. So it's really not something obscure. It's something pretty definite. So let's take a look at what it is. So cloud computing, the definition is if it's the delivery of computing resources over the internet, so we all have access to the internet, for faster innovation, flexibility of resources, and economies of scale. just for this, I'm going to hide my video while I continue on, just so we can not get distracted. Here we go. And we can watch the slides. So it's the cloud computing, the delivery of those resources anywhere you want it to be. So you have your computer at home, but if you needed resources from somewhere else, do you have your own data center? Most likely you do not. When I talk to customers, when they built their own data centers in the past, they would have to actually physically get a space, lease that space, come in with hardware, network it all together. It could take months, even years to build these data centers. So that's why it's very expensive for most people. Most companies could not do it, especially when they all of a sudden open up a new office in North America or open another office in Australia. They had to go build a data center there, and that was cost prohibitive for many, many people. So you want to make sure that cloud computing now, the way that we're going now with Microsoft, Google, all the other companies, you can get onto the cloud quite easily without having to do all this initial legwork. So you're not having to build those centers. You're not going to have to rent those centers. And they can be millions of dollars to actually run. But the benefit of the cloud now is you can be anywhere you want with very little downtime. You're actually going to be using our centers around the world. So where you see these blue dots around the world is where Microsoft has data centers. So that's when you're jumping on the cloud, you're picking a location where you want to be. You physically do not have to go build that anymore, you and your organization. You're actually just going to go in and say, you know what, I have a lot of customers in Norway. I'm going to spin up some of my resources in Norway. So we have actually, Microsoft has the most data centers of any cloud provider in the world, and you can see those blue dots around the world. If you see a dotted blue dot, it's because we're still building one. And I'll show you what they look like because you'll understand why it takes a while to build these data centers. They are huge. But think of all, like you are in Ireland, you're in India, you're in Africa, wherever you happen to be. Think of how limited you are if you had your own data center just down the block and that's what you had to use. With the cloud, you can be anywhere now. So you don't have to worry about the location. You're going to pick the location you want to use. And our rule is as close to your customers as possible for less latency or less waiting around for that data to transfer to you. So that's the rule, but you can use any of those blue dots that you see in this chart in front of you, in this map in front of you, now that you're in the cloud. Okay, so it may not seem a big deal, but it is a big deal because before we were limited to our own clouds. Now we can use clouds from Microsoft, from Google, from Amazon, whatever that company is, and I'm picking the location. So me, right here in North America, I can say, you know what, I need one in Brazil and I need it today. I'm just going to spin it up in Brazil and it's going to take me all of 5 minutes. Never before was that possible. So that's why the cloud is so important. And it's also, I'm only going to pay from today for maybe if I'm going to have that Brazil location for a week, I'm going to pay for the week. I don't have to worry about the rest of the year and the rest of the decade. I don't have to pay for that. I'm just going to pay for what I'm actually using. Okay, so I can spin up in Brazil just for an afternoon and then remove my resources. I'm only going to pay for that afternoon. I don't care what Microsoft does for the rest of the time. I'm only going to commit for that afternoon or whatever time I want. So it's not costing me that initial startup cost of building that data center, getting people into networking, building the equipment, putting them on racks together. None of that is my responsibility in this cloud. That's why the cloud is so important. And if you have a startup, you're running a small business, or you're a nonprofit, you may be on the cloud in a certain level of capacity. You are paying a very nominal rate and you're not spending this long-term fee, and you can do it at that cost. You can spend $500 or $100 per month and not worry about having to spend millions to get that center up and going. So startups for sure use this all the time because they don't have millions of dollars to spend. Use a student who's running a student website for maybe your company, your university newspaper. Maybe you want to run something there. You don't need to spend millions of dollars to be on the cloud. You're going to find the best location to be at. You're going to launch your resources. You can set budgets. Say I only want to spend up to $100, and it'll warn you before you get to that $100 that you're almost up, so you don't go over by accident. So that's one of the major benefits of the cloud. So that's the biggest benefit, is you can be anywhere you want and spend how you want to spend in the cloud. Before, it used to be only large companies can have their own data centers. They're the only ones that could afford this. Now everyone can compete in the same level because they're getting into the cloud. Okay, so Microsoft actually has 60 plus regions around the world. So where you see those blue dots, even the dotted blue dots are actually being built currently as we speak. And then, so you can put those resources wherever you choose. So there's a whole bunch in Northern Europe. We're actually going to a Northern European data center in Ireland. So I'll show you that one as well. So you can put those resources wherever you choose. And just the general rule is closest to your customers as possible. Okay, any questions there? So that's the biggest benefit. You have that flexibility. So Keegan wants to get on and says, you know, I've got a website. I'm supporting only North America. I'm going to put it somewhere in North America. He's going to jump on and put resources there. And he doesn't have any data center built. So same with Nikhil. He says, I've got some in India. I've got a nonprofit I'm working for. I want to put up a data center here. I'm going to spin one up, you know, just for a week, see how it goes, and then remove it if I want to remove it. So that's the benefit. That flexibility is that benefit. I can decide how long and where I want to be, when I want to be, and then remove those resources and not worry about those resources still being there because someone else is going to be paying for them. I'm not paying for them anymore. Okay, so that region is very important, tells you where we are around the world. And when we talk about cloud benefits, there are 10. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I'll highlight the major ones for you. When you have your own one computer at home and it goes down and there's no backup plan, that is a problem. In the cloud, you don't want that. That's why we want to make sure we're highly available. We're always running. Your website is not unavailable to your customers. So that's very important. That's high availability. In the cloud, you can plan for, say if there's a flood in a particular region, you can plan for a backup region to take over automatically. So that's called high availability. So when you go to a website and it says we're down or you can't connect, that's a bad thing in the cloud, of course. So we want to prevent that. We want to make sure we're planning for that availability. So we have a primary region, we have a secondary region, we may have a third region as well if something does happen. So we want to plan for that. And then something called scaling. So say you get mentioned on the news, all of a sudden you have 10 million hits that night and you weren't planning for that. You don't want to turn away business, trust me. You want to be able to scale up and address those extra customers coming to your site when needed. You can plan that again in the cloud. You're saying when this happens and I get so many, please spin up another server for me. Please spin up some more machines. So you're not turning away business. You're only going to pay for what you actually use, remember? But you're not turning away business when the volume gets high. So you get mentioned on the news, all of a sudden 10 million people are hitting your site and you don't want it to crash or you don't want it to be unavailable. That's when you're going to use that scaling option. Global reach, I showed you that map around the world, those blue dots. You can put your resources anywhere you choose. So that is a huge benefit because you can decide, you know, I've got a lot of Australian customers. I'm going to put something in Australia. So they're not waiting for it to come across to India or come across to Ireland or come across from North America. I'm going to put it closest to them in Australia. And then the ability to say, I want to run a whole bunch of servers. That's that agility. I can run them all and then stop them when I needed to. So I've got that flexibility in the cloud. Disaster recovery, I talked about that flood. So maybe I've got a flood in my primary region. Guess what? I've got a backup plan for a secondary region. I've got a third region as well. So I'm not worried in the cloud. You've got that ability. If you had only one data center and there was a flood, you'd be in trouble. So the cloud makes it even better because you've got that extra protection in the cloud. Fault tolerance, so if a particular part hardware goes down, you know, in your computer, you've got that tapping of your drive. The drive is now failing. In the cloud, you're protecting because you've got those backups again. So that secondary, third regions as well, you've got that protection in the cloud. That's fault tolerance. So in your own personal computer, when you only had the one and it started to, you know, made that noise when you're starting it up, that's a bad thing. So that's fault tolerance. Your actual drive, your hardware is going down. In the cloud, you're protected against that. Customer latency, that's when we're talking about being as close to your customers as possible. So they're not waiting. No one wants to wait 10, 15, 20 seconds or 25 seconds to launch a website. That's latency. You want as little as possible. Otherwise, they'll get bored and leave. And you don't want that as well. Predictive costs about the cloud. I'm going to show you how to calculate costs so you know what you're going to spend up front and not worry about a surprise bill at the end of the month. You can also set budgets, like I mentioned, and I set budgets all the time just in case I have something running and I forgot to remove it. I get a warning every couple weeks that I'm getting close to my budget. So I want to make sure I don't spend over. I don't want a surprise bill and it's $1,000. I thought it was going to be $100. I don't want that surprise bill. So I've got those alerts set up in my systems. And you can do that at any different platform. They have those abilities. And then security, I'm going to briefly show you some of the security. In the cloud, we have multiple levels of security at every single level possible. And I'm going to review just the basics of that as well. So there's many benefits of the cloud. When people talk to you, say, well, it's available everywhere. If I have a hardware issue, I'm not relying on that one piece of hardware. I'm looking everywhere. I've got global reach. I can put data centers around the world. I've got disaster recovery. I can, because of a flood in this primary region, I've got a secondary region already picked out and a third region as well. And then someone says, oh, but what about the bill? I heard it's really expensive. No, you can see what it's going to cost you. Predictive costs, you can see what it's actually going to cost you, and you'll know upfront what you're going to spend. And of course, it's going by usage. So if you use even less, the bill is lower than you thought. Or if you use more, it's going to be higher than you originally planned, but that's part of it. It'll tell you by hour how much it's costing you. So there's no surprises in the cloud. There's all these rumors, oh, it's really expensive, but it's not. You're going to get a quote up front. This is going to be what you're going to spend. And then if you, of course, you spend under that or use under that, you're going to spend less. If you use more than that, you're going to spend more. So it's really, not too complicated. And we'll talk about security as well. Okay, so that's the main benefits of the cloud. The biggest one to me is that global reach. You're not building data centers on your own, and you're deciding how long you want to be there. I want to be there for a week. I want to be there for a day. You decide. You don't have to be there forever. So you decide how long you want to be there and what you want to spend. So that's the biggest benefits of the cloud. And one day I'm going to talk about general terms to get you understanding about what's in the cloud. They have 3 types of cloud models. The first one is that public cloud. So it's hosted by Microsoft, hosted by Google, hosted by Amazon. That's public cloud, and you can access it by signing in or logging in or creating an account. That's how you're joining. So when you have your Hotmail accounts and your Yahoo accounts and your Google accounts, you're using public cloud. That's what that is. So Microsoft or Amazon or Google is on the back end making sure there's hardware to run that cloud. Okay. Then we have different types of infrastructure. When we're talking about infrastructure in the cloud, we've got a pay-as-you-go when you're in, it's called IaaS, so infrastructure as a service, and that's the very first model when you're in the cloud models. So when you get into the cloud, so now you're joining Microsoft's cloud, you could be in hybrid, you can be in the full cloud. You have servers provided for you, networking is provided for you, and the physical data center. Remember I told you those dots? Those are physical things Microsoft was providing for you to use in the cloud, okay? So you're renting these things from Microsoft in your monthly agreement or the daily agreement or the hourly contract you have. You're renting these from us, and then you're adding everything else also you want to have on top of it. So this is the most basic level, is the IaaS model. Okay, so that's the infrastructure, as the name says, as a service. You're renting infrastructure from us. If you want even less responsibility on your end, you're going to another model that's right beside it to the right. I'd say it's called Platform as a Service, or PaaS as we call it. And we're also, Microsoft will take care of your operating systems if you don't want to manage that. And the development of database tools on top of it, we'll take care of that as well. So we're taking over a larger scope. You're going to sit back a little bit more and do a little bit less. And of course, we're charging a little bit more because we're taking care of more for you. So we're managing your updates. We're managing all that for you. And this is the middle of the 3 models. So it's IaaS, so infrastructure as a service, PaaS, which is the middle one. And the very last one is software as a service. Oh, I'm missing a slide here. Software as a service, where you're using Teams, you're using Office 365. We manage everything. You just manage people logging in. So that's the very last one, is software as a service. So it's IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Just to give you a different model, you can decide how much involvement you want in the cloud. IaaS is you've got the most involvement. Going over one more to the PaaS service, you've got less because we're taking care of the operating system. And then the very right one is actually software as a service, and we take care of everything and you just worry about who's logging in. Okay, so when we talk about some of the models, in the past model, the middle one, if you wanted the operating system has been taken care of, who's responsible for the operating system? It's the provider. Remember, we're taking care of that. The data is going to be on you in the middle model. Storage would be on us because we're providing that physical storage as well. And any applications you're running, you're doing that in that model there. If you wanted us to manage the applications as well, you'd be in one more to the right, which would be the software as a service model. So there's various levels of involvement. It depends on how much you want to do, how much you want us to do in the cloud, and that's all relying on you. You decide where you want to be. So cloud is very flexible that way, giving you a better diagram here. So the IS model, the very left one I showed you originally, is here. So we take care of the physical, you're renting the physical, you want to manage your operating systems, you manage your development, your hosted applications on top of it in the IS. If you want less control and you want us to take over more, you're in this PaaS environment. It's called Platform as a Service. We're giving you the platform, you're putting anything else on top of that. And the very last one that I was mentioning, if you want us to do everything, all you're doing is managing your security and who logs in, so who are your valid users, you'd be in the SaaS model. So they're just types of models of how much involvement you get in the cloud. And that's all for you to decide when you're coming into the cloud. These are part of your choices. Okay, so I mentioned that private cloud, we create the data centers, we own them, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, we own them. You're coming in and using them. Hybrid is when you have maybe your own data centers and you also want to use Microsoft's data centers or Amazon's data centers or Google's data centers as well. And you're running that hybrid environment, some on your own location, some in the cloud. That is perfectly fine as well, especially for legal entities and government entities. They use a lot of hybrid cloud. So that is also possible. It's not an and or. You can mix and match where you happen to be and still run in the cloud as well. Okay, and then the other one, if you're private cloud only, which is not in part of this course, which means you're only in your data center, which means you don't need us, which is fine too. Depends on what you're using, but you'd be building your own data center. So that's the other option where it's totally for you. You're running your own data center, has nothing to do with us. Okay. So it's a public and private cloud, as that's the hybrid cloud. I'm going to say the most common of the scenarios because most people have their own data centers somewhere and they're running from there. Okay. To help you remember it easily when people are trying to get find it confusing, when you look at this left one here, I want you to think of your own private company data center. So you're running your own data center. Think of it made at home pizza. So you're bringing all the ingredients home. You've got all the ingredients. You've got the oven. You've got the rolling pin. You've got the flour. You're going to make everything. You're going to use your dining room table. You're having your soda, pop, juice, whatever you're having. So that's made at home pizza, and that's on premises, your own private cloud. The ones I started to explain to you, the various models when you start to get into the cloud are here. This is the IS model. So it's take and bake. So you go to the store, you bring home a pizza that is uncooked. You bring it home, you use your oven to cook it. You have your soda as well, your pop as well, and then you're going to have it at home, consumed at home. Going to the PaaS model here. You've got pizza delivered to your door. So Domino's comes, or we have Pizza, Papa Murphy's, whatever that happens to be. They're going to come to your house with an already cooked pizza. All the ingredients are already there. It's cooked and ready for you. You're just going to use your dining table and have your soda, pop, water, juice, and have your pizza. The last one, if you don't want any involvement, as I mentioned before, in the SaaS model, you want us to do everything. You're going out to Pizza Hut, whatever that happens to be near you, and you're going to have pizza. You pay the bill, you walk away, they take care of everything. So that's the different levels of involvement you can have in the cloud, and you get to choose that as a customer. Okay, you get to choose that. I'm just going to put on participants. Good. Okay, so there we go. So I wanted to show you what a data center looks like, because sometimes we don't really know what these look like. This one happens to be in Ireland, which is so lucky. So this is our Northern European data center in Dublin, Ireland. So I don't know if anyone's in that area, if you've ever seen this, but you can probably drive by and see it. It's not much to look like from the front street because there's probably some fences around it and some gates, but this is Massive facility. You can see by the cars here how big this facility is. And I love it because it gives you an example of what it is. Otherwise, it's very vague. So I'm trying to show you a picture of what it looks like. So I've got, looking off the main street here, I've got a short little driveway. I've got some gates here, security cameras here. I've got a round driveway, a high wall here as well. And then I've got a short driveway. And then if I was coming in, I'd have to make a sharp left to get into these main doors here. So when we talk about security, I'm going to mention it very briefly here. We've got fences, security cameras. We've got cameras all along all the walls here. If hopefully you can see these little poles all the way around. There's security cameras. We've got a high fence as well all the way around. We've got some independent power sources. So each one of these buildings, a set of buildings, have their own power source, power, cooling, and networking. So they have their own. We also have security on, of course, as you can imagine, every door. And for the size of the building, you can see we have very few cars because we're not encouraging visitors. We don't tell people come by and take a look around. You can't get in unless you are on a list that's pre-approved and you've done about 15 pages of security forms and you've been invited to come. Then you'll be able to get in after you show, of course, your ID and everything to get in. We don't offer tours. It's not Disney World, or we're going to let you come take a look around. Because we have many customers in here, we don't let a lot of people in here. So you have to be on a list to get in. You have to pass all sorts of security measures to get in, verify who you are. And we also weigh you on the way in, weigh you on the way out to make sure you're not taking anything in or taking anything away when you leave the building. So in this, you're seeing in front of you, this, we have, remember that blue dot on the map I was showing you? That blue dot can be up to 16 data centers in that blue dot. Right now, you're just seeing 1, 2, and 3. There's actually 3 little buildings here. There's a great video if you want to watch the security in a data center. It shows you all the security involved. It's quite amazing. But I'm looking at one availability zone of 3 data centers. So 1, this mainly blue and white one here, this mainly blue one here, and then this one here. I have 3 data centers, 1, 2, and 3 in the picture in front of me. Okay, so that's for giving. Remember, I can have up to 16 in that blue dot region that I showed you on that map. And we're in Dublin, Ireland right now. Okay, so remember they have their own power, cooling, and networking. Part of that resiliency plan, remember I told you if one happened to go down, it'll just feed it to the next one, the same kind of thing, primary regions, secondary regions, when we talk about that. So we have a lot of protection in the cloud, and that's when you're going to pick. When this one goes down, I want this one to be the next one. So you're going to pick all that when you're in the cloud. You may not have that possible when you're creating your own data centers because they're very expensive to build, but in the cloud, you have that option. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Okay. I'm going to move on. Does anyone have questions? I've just lost my my pictures of everyone, so I'm just going to put them back in. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know where the chat window is, but there's the chat. Okay, it's disappeared at the top. Okay, so if you let me know if anyone, just jump out if you need me. So just showing you that region I showed you right now is this right here. So this is part of the rest of that Northern European data center, that blue dot. And you can see there's other data centers here as well. We have now actually 16 that are built in this region. This is a couple years old, this photograph. They don't release them very often. So the one I showed you was this one here. So it's 3, 4, and 5. There's 6, 7, and 8, and there's actually now 16 in this area, just to give you an idea of the volume and sizes of these data centers. If you have any questions, please come off mute, I can hear you. So when we're talking about the cloud, so we've got the physical data centers there, and now we want to build resources. We want to run a website. What do I need for a website? Maybe I need a virtual machine. Maybe I need some storage. Maybe I need some AI technology. Maybe I'm doing certain things. So I want to be building these resources in those data centers I showed you. So that's what we're doing now. And the cloud, we've given you the physical. You're renting the physical structure from us. And now so you know you need to spin up a virtual machine maybe. Maybe you need to spin up some storage. So all these things you're going to do them in the cloud. So you decide what resources you want. Maybe I need a database. Maybe I need smaller apps that do certain functions all the time. So that's all it is. So you've got the physical, you're picking your locations, you're going to pick who has access as well, but then you're going to decide what resources you need to run your website, to run your database, to run your tools that you have. Just like you would on your own data centers, you're going to now pick them in the cloud. Okay, so these are some of the resources. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but some of the resources, I'm going to go use some other screens showing you what you can run. So here's your virtual machines, your apps, your containers, and your Windows virtual desktop as well. So you can run various resources in the cloud when you need them. Okay, so cloud is us providing the physical for you. You're deciding on how much involvement you want, how much you want us to take over, how much you want to do in the cloud. Of course, there's various pricing mechanisms. And then you're picking the resources you need to run. I'm going to pull over a quick show of the portal, the Azure portal here. Here it comes here. Okay, can you see my screen? Can you see it okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. So this is in Azure. This is what it looks like getting into Azure. And I can go and say, you know what, I need some resources. I'm going to go create a resource. And what type of resource is it? Is it a web app? Is it a compute resource? And I'm going to go ahead and create that resource. So that's what it is in the cloud. You're going to pick the resources you want to run. And we have hundreds, as you can imagine, of resources. I'm going to pick the location. So I'd go in here and pick the location. Remember, closest to your customer as possible is preferred. Name it. Pick what areas are going to be. So my secondary, my backups that I told you as well, we're picking all that as well. And then I go through and create that actual resource. So it's not extremely complicated. You're just deciding on, okay, now I decided I'm going to be in Ireland, and I'm decided that's where my resources are going to be. Now, what am I going to build? Is it a database? Am I running a website only? Am I running some AI technology, and where am I running that? So that's what you're picking. So this is what the portal looks like. You actually come in and decide what you want to create, and then you can monitor them all. So let's go to all. Here's all services showing you everything that Microsoft has running. So we've got storage, web, mobile, mixed media, DevOps, security. These are all the different categories. I can hear you. Do you need something? Okay. So these are the resources we have in the cloud, and you're just going to decide what you want to run. Okay, I'll move that other way just so you can see what it looks like, but that's all it is. So it's cloud's pretty simple. You're just figuring out what you want to run. So here are some resources. I'm going to give you some other resources here. Containers, you may need storage. You can run those. You're going to deploy those in the cloud as well. And when you have storage containers, you get one big bucket and you subdivide that bucket into different types. So maybe I've got blob storage for mixed media. I've got videos. I've got PDFs. That's blob storage. Then I have file storage. I've got queue storage, different types of storage, but all under the umbrella of storage. And then I just deploy again in the web. I went into the portal, picked storage, decided what kind of storage I'm running. So it's really, after you get into the cloud, it's really easy. Internet of Things, maybe I want to do some IoT things. I've got two different resources available called IoT Central and IoT Hub. And then I've got actual physical tools, it's called Azure Sphere, that has a chip built into it that helps you determine the IoT device and what's running. So we have many offerings in the cloud. These are another one of the resources you will spin up as needed, and you just run them when you need them. Also databases, if you need to run a database, we have Cosmos DB is our biggest one. It has 5 nines of availability, and I'll show you what that looks like real soon. But we have many types of databases, so it depends on your use. You're just going to spin up that resource. Okay, so that's databases. Let's see what else we have. We've got some artificial intelligence and machine learning as well in the cloud. Of course, everyone has them. We've got cognitive services, bot services, wonderful tool. We created our own bot for answering questions and answers when we have larger groups. We created that ourselves just to play around. And we've got machine learning too. You can do, if you're a programmer, you can get into various areas in that. Or if you're a non-programmer, there's an actual wonderful tool called the Studio, which looks like this. It's drag and drop. You're going to just use a flow charting like tool. You're saying, okay, data comes in. How am I going to split that data? So I split it here. What am I going to run a test? I'm pulling them from this side into here, and then I get to test and train them into this studio environment. So you don't need any coding involved to get into machine learning. This is the machine learning studio. Think of Artist Studio, drag and drop, very visual. Drag and drop, and once it works, you can then customize it in the programming aspect. But you don't need to start off with as a programmer. You can start here. And it runs some really beautiful ones. And I'll show you some paths as well. You can go around and play. So you don't need to be a programmer to get into machine learning. We have Machine Learning Studio, which will help you get started. And all your commands will be on this left-hand side here. Okay, so really easy to run. That's it again, just showing another viewpoint of it. You can drag it, you're going to train it, and then test it as well. So here's an AI demo. So you can go in and actually we have one that's built in Microsoft. If you want to go to this link, you can join me there. I'm afraid of running out of time, but you can see this image. It'll analyze this image, this girl's face here, and tell me about that image. That's what it's going to do. So let me minimize this window here. I'm going to bring it over here, facial recognition. So it's where that link is in the blue there. I can go and say, right now it's verifying this person and this person are the same people. And it's by looking at two images, it's comparing the images together. It's in the background, it's done this and says there's a 0.91145%, so 91% chance that these two are the same people. So this is because I'm using the AI and I've generated some background testing. It's testing to see that these people, and this one has got a higher rate, a 93% that it's the same person. Okay, and then we even have another one. You can check their mood. How happy are they? What facial expressions? Are they wearing glasses? Are they not wearing glasses? Do they have a mustache? Do they have a beard? All these different things you can train your AI to determine for you in machine learning as well. So that's that link. It's I'm going to let you see it again. You can load your own photographs and compare them yourself. So here's some built-in ones I was using. And then you can also go to face detection. It tells you how happy, how sad on a percentage of how that person is for various different components. So I'll move that out of the way. Here's that link here if you want to copy it to get into the AI demo. Go upload your own photos and actually go test it on your own. It's actually a lot of fun. Okay, so that's getting it for AI to see. It's generating and looking at those images, analyzing the images, giving you scores on how accurate that is compared to another person. Is this person smiling? Is this person, does she have glasses? What color hair does she have? What color eyes does she have? You can determine all of this from doing it on your own. In the same kind of vein, you can also go look into this object, this image coming up here. And it's detecting objects in an image. So in these three magenta or purple boxes, it sees an object here, it sees an object here, and an object here. So there's that demo here. I'm not going to get into it. Same kind of thing. You can upload an image and say, I see 4 objects, I see 5 objects, I see 1 object. It's going to tell you what it sees. By the bounding box, it'll tell you, I see 3 things in this picture. So that's just getting you touching on artificial intelligence. Okay, so you can go look that up. It's right there. Here's a great video. I'm gonna, it's only about a minute and a half, but it connects so many things. I'm going to bring it up for you and play it really quickly. So I'll bring it over right now, and then you can look at it for later on. Let's pull this up. And I'm gonna go, can you go full screen first?
Ma'am, I guess you have to share the audio as well.
Oh, hold on a second. Yep. Let me see if I can do it on here. Share computer sound. Get it?
Voice is not coming proper.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get share computer sound. There we go. Let's try again. Hold on.
Group Lazy Parkers is a special
Thank you, Loraine.
Rhino. It's from here most of the white rhino populations actually originates. In recent years, organized crime has infiltrated conservation, coming in and poaching rhino. Last year was 769 animals killed. That's over 2 animals a day. Peacebox Foundation, we work together towards a common goal, combating wildlife crime and trafficking within Southern Africa.
If we don't have technology that can support us, I promise you, the rhino will decline. The park's got 96,000 hectares. You cannot identify exactly the direction these people are going to use. Even yesterday, we lose up to rhino. That's a problem. So from my heart, I need to make sure that I'm fighting the rhino poaching. If you touch rhino, you touch me.
Rangers will want to save rhino. They don't want to be technicians. And that's where we started looking at Azure and the cloud.
What we're looking for is to detect suspicious human activities on the images taken by motion-activated camera traps.
They're just a camera that takes photos as soon as something moves past it. You know, animals moving past, wind blowing grass around. It's taking a lot of photos that you really don't want, and you have to look at each one if you really want to catch someone. The problem with that is obviously that you can only process so many photos every day. What we were able to do with this system is that this photo is processed by a machine learning model and only sends down the relevant photos, which is humans and vehicles.
At Nerve Center, we have a reaction unit team. The reaction unit team will fly straight to that area to make sure we save this rhino.
Before Azure was really not scalable, Microsoft is such a massive contributor.
Okay, it's a long video, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let you see it if you need to see it. Just wanted to give an idea of what can be done, and this is using many Microsoft technologies, of course, put together. There we go. So it uses a lot of the technologies. I'm going to show you in the next one what that looks like. So it's taking photos, as you can see there. It sends it to a send grid, which triggers an alert saying, oh, I think there's something in that area. It stores that photograph, remember in the blob storage I was telling you about? And then it also stores it in the database for access later on. It continues to process that image saying, yes, for sure, this is a poacher. It sends out an email saying, okay, we need to go to that area and take a look at what's going on in that area of the park. And it also alerts other places as well. So this is very brief on what it looks like, but you can see when you're combining the technologies, we're talking about the database, we're talking about storage, we're talking AI, we're talking about all these different technologies together, what you can do in the cloud. Okay, so this is all done in the cloud. This is, I think it is 96,000 hectares of land that they're checking for and looking for these poachers around the world. But this is a brief thing of what they're doing, just a summary of what they're doing using all the technology available in the cloud. So if you're interested in that, watch that video. You really get goosebumps to see what they do. It's actually quite amazing. Other things you can do in Azure in the cloud is DevOps. You can plan out your project flows and your workflows as well, document them as well. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Github. So it's where you can go practice labs. There's a lot of environments there. I'll bring up an example of GitHub here. I have it for my course that I run. Here's my GitHub for the course I run, so it's the AZ900, and this would be all my lab instructions would be here, so I can go through and do all the walkthroughs. So I can go through, and anyone can find this. All the instructions are here to go do the labs that I have, and I'll show you that at the end as well, in case you're interested in doing the labs. Labs are a great way when you're studying for anything to get, of course, the practice you need. So this is in GitHub. All these repos are stored here. Many different companies have a lot of repos there, so you can use GitHub. But if you're not familiar, go look it up. It's actually used quite a bit. Okay, then we have various other tools I don't want to get too detailed, in DevOps and GitHub that you can go from there. But this is part of the cloud, the availability of what's available in the cloud for you to use. Okay. And then,
hi, Loraine. Could you send us the link for the GitHub maybe at the end of the session?
For sure. I'll copy and paste a whole bunch of them. I've got a whole bunch to send you, actually. And then we have management tools. So you've got your deployment in Azure in the cloud. You just need to manage them. And we have many tools available for you. Some as simple as the portal, which I just got into with you. Other ways of getting in there. But you can also do it on your phone. So you happen to jump, you're on your way home on the bus and you realize, oh, I forgot to shut down something. You can go on your phone. You'll see it on your phone. You'll get notifications as well. So there's many tools to manage when you put your stuff into the cloud, many tools to manage it. And you just go in there and fix what you need to fix. So cloud is very, very powerful. In the cloud, we have all sorts of tools for you. And this one is called Azure Advisor. So as the word says, it's advice. We're giving you advice on what you have deployed. So if we see some security issues, we're giving you those alerts. Something is wrong in your security. You need to take a look at it. Something, your costs, there's a way of saving money. So we're going to give you all this. It's advice regarding what we see and what you have deployed. Okay, so that's all it is. So when you don't mix them up with the other ones, advice is advice on what we see. What you've put in the cloud, we're going to say, hey, you know what? You can make it better available if you do this. You can save money if you do this, and we can walk you through that. Okay, so that's advice in the cloud is called Advisor. Another tool is Monitor. So as the word says, we're monitoring what you have deployed in the cloud. So we're giving you log analytics. We're taking a look at the applications that are running. We're going to give you alerts as well. So monitor versus advice. Remember, monitoring what's actually happening. Advice is tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, you can save $500 if you do this. This is a security issue you need to take a look at. So we're just various tools in the cloud available to you. Difference between metrics and logs, or metrics are something that's happening at that particular time. Log is a history of what has happened. So think of a log of an entrance log that tells you who's come into the building. That's over time, and it's normally already happened. So that's what logs are versus metrics. Metrics is that particular instance. Log is a track of everything that's happened in the past. When I was telling you about cost, remember, I can set up those alerts. So I have a budget of $150 US a year. Per month, I can spend on my demonstration accounts for Microsoft. So I set an alert at half, so it's $75, just in case something's running that should not be running. And then I set a 90% alert, so I'm very close to my limit, just in case I miss the other alert, so I don't go over. Because if I go over, I have to spend on my own. So I want to make sure I'm not going over. And that's where you can set those alerts yourself. So what that alert looks like is you're going to pick the resource. So maybe my virtual machines, when it hits 75% of my budget, I want it to give me an alert. That's all I'm doing. So I'm setting those alerts to protect myself from overspending. Okay, so remember the predictive costs, managing your costs in the cloud I mentioned, that's one of the things. You can protect yourself by setting those alerts. Another great term that you'll get in the cloud when you're starting about is authentication versus authorization. Two separate concepts. It's just very generic for the cloud. So authentication, verifying who you are. Do you meet your passport? Are you the same person on your passport? Are you the same person on your government issued ID? I want to verify you are who you are. And then I'm going to say what you can do in the cloud. So maybe you're just a reader. You can only read in the cloud. You can't make any modifications. Your authorization will be read only once you're authenticated to be in the cloud. So all the different cloud models I showed you, the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, to be able to get in to make modifications, first of all, you have to be authenticated. And then are you authorized to make those changes? Are you an owner? Are you a contributor? Whatever access you have. If you want someone just to read, and a lot of the stuff on the web is read only, they're only authorized as a reader. Okay, so two different terms that will come up when you're starting to get into the cloud, just so you should understand. Authorization is what you're allowed to do once you've been allowed into the environment. So once you've been authenticated, once your ID matches, when you write your exam, they're going to ask you to be authenticated to write that exam. And that's when we also give different roles out. So owner, contributor, reader, whatever you said. So whatever you're able to modify, then you must be an owner, a contributor, something in the web. Not everyone is allowed to modify because they can make a mess. Right? So you want to make sure that you're given the right roles to the right people. I briefly talked about security at the very beginning when I showed you that data center, told you about the security available in the cloud. Well, we have multiple levels of security, starting with the data. So everyone, all the hackers out there are interested what's in your data. What information that you have in there and your applications. This is what they're looking for. So in the cloud, we want to make sure every single level, all these different levels are protected. When I showed you that Ireland data center, locked doors are the biggest one. You want to make sure doors are locked to security rooms, server rooms. You want to make sure they have a card pass to get in, not just anyone can get in. You want to make sure you have gates, securities at the outside. You have security people walking around. That's part of the physical security. And then we talked about identity and access. You want to make sure you're authenticated and authorized to be in there, right? In the cloud, we have perimeter firewalls around our deployments. Those are important as well. We have networking where we're connecting various resources together. We want to make sure there's security there as well. This is a whole different section, of course, so I'm not going to get into it. But you want to make sure even at your compute, your endpoints are protected. They're not open. Any ports are not open. And you'll get an alert saying your port is open if it's open, because that's a security issue. You want to make sure they are locked and secured. And then you've got web application firewalls. And then even in the cloud, the data, when it travels in and out of the cloud into different resources, is encrypted, part of that security. Okay, so in the cloud, we have multiple levels of security, because if someone breaches, say breached past the locked doors, we want to make sure there's something else that's blocking them, and something else, and something else, and something else. So we want to make sure we have multiple levels to protect us, not once they're in the front door, they can get everything. We want every single level protected where possible. And you can put that into the cloud. Key vault, so a lot of people used to put their secrets in their programming files and everything else. Do not put them there. Key vault is very important because it tracks who goes in there and what they access as well. So if there's ever an issue, if someone's compromised something in your office, you can go into the key vault and say who's actually accessed that particular security key and when they did it. So you've got a way of tracking what's going on. So don't put them in your files, in the bottom of your files, or tape them anywhere else. You want to make sure you're putting them somewhere important. So this logs, remember we talked about logs, who's actually gone in and accessed it, when they did it, and at what time and everything. So it's really good. You want to be using key vaults wherever possible. Another term when you start to work in the cloud and even in IT, service level agreements, or SLAs, will come up. They're going to say, what's the SLA for this particular product? And that's a level of uptime, a promise of a certain level of uptime. And Microsoft has various levels, depends on the type of resource you're running. And of course, your backups. Do you have primary regions, secondary regions, third regions? Picked. If you do, yes, your SLA is even higher because you're protecting yourself in the cloud. Think of that one computer by itself. If it goes down, that you only have that one computer, your service level agreement will be pretty low because you're relying on the one machine. But if you had multiple machines, you've got better SLAs. Right? So you want to make sure your SLAs is as high as possible. And there's ways you as a customer can make your SLAs better. Whoops, we've got someone off mute. Hold on a sec. Let me see if I can mute them. Does anyone know how to mute Ashmira Meta? Thank you. Okay, that's service level agreements. So in Microsoft, we have from the very lowest is 99, is 7 hours of downtime per month. Seems like high, depends on what the resource is, but you can get that better. We go all the way up to 99.999, which is that Cosmos DB I mentioned, has 26 seconds of downtime or less per month is our promise. Okay, so that's about how much you're going to be up. So you want to remember the goal is to be up all the time. We talk about that high availability. So the higher your numbers, the better it is for you. And there's many ways to protect yourself in the cloud. So that's just another term you should know. I'm going to skip this now, but when you have multiple products in one, say a resource group that depend on each other, your SLA depends on all of those products, not just the one product. So if I had, let me give you another example. I had an app, a database, an Active Directory, and a gateway all in one resource group. The composite SLA will be all of these put together, not just the one resource by itself, because it depends on each other. Okay, they all depend on each other. So we would calculate this normally together, and that'd be your composite SLA. So SLAs are an important concept to understand when you're starting to look into the cloud, when you're looking for a customer to or a platform to use. You want to find out what their SLAs are. When I talked about that single virtual machine, I had a 99.9 SLA. When I have more than one machine, you can see my SLA is getting better, 99.95. When I'm using different areas, so more than one data center, so I've got availability zones, my SLA is getting higher. That's all this is trying to show you. If I decide to go in North America and then a backup in Europe, guess what? I've got multi-region disaster recovery. My SLA goes even higher. So that's where that is important. The more you protect yourself in the cloud, the higher your SLA, the less downtime you're going to have. Okay, cost management, it's going to be a big deal for everyone too. You want to make sure you're maintaining your budgets, you're spending what you think you should be spending and taking a look at that. Remember, you can set those alerts. I have a 50% budget email as well. 50% of my $500, it sends me an email saying, hey, you're at 50%. And that's just a great alert for yourself. It could be just for your personal, maybe you're fine with that number, but you want to just make sure you don't have any surprises at the end of the month. You're saying, oh, I spent $1,000. I thought it was only $100 and I forgot I had a database running. So this is just your way of tracking for yourself and keeping an eye on what you're spending. And I use this all the time. So, and it's a free service, so you might as well use it. I've set it for various different resources in case I forgot to shut down my resources at the end of the day after teaching. I'm running a database, I'm running some servers. I want to make sure I shut them down. This is a great way to remind myself. Okay, so there's ways of protecting yourself. Remember, we looked at the monitor. It monitors what's going on. You can set alerts as well. Here's another alert set. Various ways of protecting your spend, because you don't want to spend by accident. There's nothing worse than spending by accident. And then there's that pricing calculator I mentioned. You can actually go in and just go look up Azure pricing calculator. It'll come up and you actually put the resources you want, and it tells you by the hour how much you're spending. So this says for 730 hours, that's the month, it's $188.57. So you know that predictive cost we talked about, what you're going to spend up front. It's not a surprise at the end of the month. Nothing worse than a surprise at the end of the month. So this will help you figure out what you're going to spend in that pricing calculator. Okay, so these are some of the major tools in the cloud. So remember, it means it's not your service, your data centers. You're using our data centers. That's what the cloud is. You're determining what resources you want to run in the cloud and where they are. Closest to your customer, remember that's the general rule. If you can have backup in secondary regions, remember we talked about protecting yourself in the cloud, that's also there too. You can use those as well. So you want to protect yourself to get that SLA as a higher number because you want to protect yourself from floods, from any of those things happening. So you want to use that as much as possible. Some growing fields I wanted to make sure I mentioned to you. Power BI and the visualization of data is huge. If you love numbers and love to see these graphs, it is a big growing field. And even in the trainer world, we're trying to find enough people qualified to do it. So if you are at all loving calculating, and you want to see visuals, and you love all these numbers, that is a growing field. Please, please look into it. And Power BI, you can easily get work to go to customers and say, you know what, I'm going to put all your stuff in visualization. I can have your reports ready every whatever day that is, you set it up, and send. This is a big field, a big growing field. So take a look at it if you're at all curious about numbers and visualization. In that same kind of field, data science, understanding that data, understanding that. So if you're a computer, love computers, love math, and you want to know and business knowledge, data science is that bigger field that's encompassing all the other fields. A huge field going into it. There's going to be a shortage of people in this field. Okay, it's a really big field to get into. So take a look around, go look at those as well. A very, very big growing field. And the last one is security. You've heard of all these cyber breaches going on. Security is the next biggest one because everyone needs to be protected. And this is an ongoing concern. It's not protected and left. They are always trying to hack everyone's different environments. So security is another huge field to be in. So if you love security, love all this, security is another one to look into. Okay, so big three, very big growing fields. I'm going to put a lot of the links. I actually have one here. I'm just trying to see how it's best to show you. Let me pull this over. I've got, do I have it here? Let me just see if I can find a link. I wanted to show you one other place. So we have some courses we offer online. I teach in some of them. You'll see them online. Some of you have taken it. And it's I told you about the certifications, the very basic ones are all free right now with Microsoft. If you want to cover this link, I'm going to try to find one more spot for you. I'm going to actually put it in the chat when we close up.
I'm sorry, Loraine, I wanted to ask you about the certification. So wouldn't it be like for the certification, you would have to give the exam, right? Like the AZ900 and the other ones. Wouldn't it be that?
Yes, so you'd have to give the exams. What the benefit of this is, and let me see if I can zoom out one more and go out. No, so it's not there. I will give you the link. I'm going to paste it in the chat. So you can take up, I think there's 5 free certification courses right now being offered from Microsoft. You have to attend the in-person class that I teach. And then you attend both of them, we give you a free voucher to write that exam. So the voucher is worth $99 US, so it's free for you when you attend both sessions. You write that exam for free. So I'm going to say just alone that is worth it because it's expensive. It's not cheap. So it's $99 US to write that exam. It's free for you if you attend both sessions of the course because we want you to write that exam. You can do the Power Platform, which is just showing you Power BI. That one is available for free. There's a DP, so Data Platform course is available for free. Artificial Intelligence is available for free. And the Azure Fundamentals, that's basically getting started in the cloud, available for free. I'll put all that in the chat for you. We also have a free trial if you want to get into the Azure platform that I showed you. Let me bring this down here. So if you want to get into this portal and play around, we have a 30-day free trial. It does ask for a credit card to make sure when you're past your 30 days, but it's free for the first 30 days. Okay, I'm going to give you also the GitHub links. I'm going to copy paste them all. So if you want to practice those labs, go into the free trial and do them as well. Great way to learn. I find labs are extremely important. So for sure, I'm going to paste them right now. I'm going to end the slideshow. Hold on right here. And I'm going to paste the links in the chat right now. Any other questions while I'm here? I'm just going to copy and paste these three. So do those certifications. Trust me, they are valuable. I get people all the time that are saying, hey, what's the best way of doing it? This is free. They can't get any better than free. And the training is free too. So it's very important. I'm going to paste in the chat right now. Let me get up here. Where's my chat? There it is. Try to paste it in the chat. Any other questions while I'm pasting in the chat? Anyone else have any questions?
I have one actually.
Go ahead.
What path do you think would be the best to go with Microsoft Azure? Like, even if you have a little bit understanding of AWS, what do you think would be the best way to start exploring? Because there are so many things when it comes to Azure that, as a data science perspective, what do you think would be the best route to take?
So you're a data science person?
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge. So let's go to Power BI. It's the biggest thing out there right now. It's growing in double digits.
Yeah, I know. I really did. I did a Power BI course recently.
Okay, and how did you like it?
Yeah, it's really nice actually. I mean, it's very intuitive. It's drag and drop. It's simple. It's straightforward. I have some experience with Tableau, so.
Oh, good, even better. Okay.
And it's so easy to use. It's so straightforward, and you can just download the reports and download the presentations of your reports as well. It's really nice.
Good. Yeah, it's a wonderful, and there's not enough people that do it. So you'll be one of the very rare people that do it because it's very rare to find someone that wants to do it. So I've pasted the links down in the chat right now. Let me send it off. Okay, so there's the GitHub links I pasted for you. The free trials there. The Azure certifications where you can go sign up for the free courses are there as well. And we've never offered it free till COVID.
Sorry, Arm, we can't really see anything in the chat.
I can say, I want to say something. Can I use my mic? Okay, let me try again. Direct message. Oh, it's directed message. I want to do to everyone. To everyone. Let me do it again. Sorry. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me put my camera on. Any other questions? I know I went through really quickly because there's so much to cover, and I just want to get an idea of what the cloud is, but Microsoft really has never offered this before till COVID happened, and it's huge. If I could show you, there's a diagram showing you the pay scale that goes up. They said if you had just those two certifications in North America, you're earning $100,000 a year. So they are valuable. We're giving them away for free because it's terrible because it degrades the value of them, but they are valuable. And if they're free and they're $100 to take the exam normally, and we're giving it to you for free, please do it. Okay.
How about the training you were mentioning? So how can we access that?
So it's right there on the certification, the third link I gave you. The certification, the training is there as well. So you can sign up for the online learning, or you can do the ones that I train as well in person. Okay, so you can find them there. It should be out there. Is that the one for that course? So there's the, so it tells you all about the exam, has the learn path as well, which is online learning at your own pace. And I think they even have, where's the free course? Let me find the free the free in-person courses. But you can see from this, I'm going to show you my screen one more time. Here's where you'd go to book your exam. Does it start? Let me share. Here's where I'm in. I just gave you that link, so that's where I am here. Here's where you'd go to book your exam. If you know anyone who's been laid off due to COVID, this is a great one. It's $15 US for your exam. You don't have to attend the other courses, but you can go schedule this exam for a limited fee. And this is extremely rare that people are offering it. But here's the course right here. You can go to paid versions, which I say don't do it. Do this online one instead. Here's the courses here. It goes through, has the sandbox environment, so you can do some of the labs as well, but you can go ahead and go do it right here. Okay, then if you have questions about other certifications you want to take and decide, you said you want to get into data visualization, that's all here. So data engineers, you can see the specialty ones. These are all the Azure ones on this side. And then the security one I mentioned is a new one. It's here as well. So it depends on what you want to study. You can click on it, just go into more detail. Let's say we go to here's the Power Platform, the one you were using earlier. Let me see the 900s here. So you can go into different levels of this, and it explains it, tells you the prerequisites, how to prepare for it as well. Okay, so great tools here that we offer. And then even honestly, the discount ones are amazing because we've never done this before till COVID started. So this is the first time we're doing this.
I think that's amazing. And I think there are Microsoft training days as well.
Yes, so yes, if you can find, I'm just trying to find that link, but I'll paste it in the chat as well. If anyone has it, put it in the chat as well. But those are totally free. So take them if you can, take them free. So do it. Any other questions? I know I just wanted to give you a touch of what cloud is, because for some people it's very new, but there's so much out there. Honestly, we're a shortage of people. We're hiring, even Microsoft, my new division, we're trying to hire 18 to 20 people. We can't find the right people. So get into security, get into data, get into visualization. There's not enough of you guys out there.
I think there's a question about the in-person coaching. Is that paid or is that free?
We're in here. This you're showing on my
instructor. I think the in-person.
Oh, so there the in-person. Let me find where that is here and go back out. So there's no free in-person. There's instructor-led, which is the paid class. Those are paid, and they charge about $1,000 for this course. If you had to come to yeah, so if you had to come to your business, they're spending at least $1,000. So that's why you want to do the free ones. Okay. But if you find the Microsoft Azure Fundamental Days, I'm trying to see if I can find it. Come here. I know someone else mentioned it. If you found it, just put it in the chat as well, because I'm trying to find it now. I should have copied it earlier.
You mean the training days?
Yeah, the Azure Fundamentals training days. Those are totally free. And I think there's 5 courses.
See the link. I registered for one of them actually.
Great, good. Yeah, so let me see.
They're all full usually. It's really hard to find a spot in that.
Well, we have literally thousands of people sign up for each one of those. So yeah. It's huge. And it's free. So of course it's going to be full because everyone wants it, right?
Yeah.
But they keep posting every 30 days. They put a new bunch on there, so you should find
it. The link. I can send it in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, put it in the chat. And honestly, those are the best way to learn because you're getting that instructor.
Send it. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Any other questions? I know it's a lot, and you're just trying to figure out. But find something you like and find something you're curious about, and that I always say that you do for free. Like I know it sounds like we don't want you to do it for free, but you do because you're curious. And that's important. Do things because you're curious. Even I've just moved to a new role, and I do it because I love the challenge. It's not the money anymore. It's you love the challenge of what you're doing. And you know, even someone saying it's not possible, just the challenge of saying it's possible is part of the experience. So I don't know. Find something you like, and then you'll love it forever.
I really like the fact that you covered the AI part of it as well, and you actually demonstrated the use of object detection and image recognition, which was really nice.
Oh, you're welcome. And normally I do a lot more, but we're such a small amount of time.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really good. Thank you so much for your time and your talk.
Very welcome. Anyone else have any questions? But do those certifications is all I'm saying. They're worth money to you, like for your future. They are valuable. I get people looking at my sites. As soon as I get a new certification, I get a jump in views. Like it's just people are looking. So you want to make sure you're doing those at the very least. Anyone else? Questions? You have
For the AC 900 exam, do you think that if we just do the trainings online, they would be enough, or do we need to do something else as well?
If you can do the labs as well, because some of the trainings, if you go to the Learn Concepts, I showed you this one on screen that I was showing you here. Hold on, this one here. When you do this training, there's some Learn labs as well. Labs help you ferment what you've read. So it's a great way of doing it. So if you can do some of the labs as well, that would help you pass it. It's a 1-hour exam, about 35 to 45 questions, and you see multiple choice. Okay, so they're a 1-hour exam, but if you can do labs, that will help you as well. And I gave you the free trial if you want to go practice your labs. That's there as well. Github, so you can see the labs there in Github. Go ahead and use that as well. Anyone else? I know it's hard when you're first starting.
I just saw the training days website.
Great.
So there are a lot of options there. So do you recommend starting from any particular one, or you can just go for anything?
Honestly, start with the AZ 900, which is Azure Fundamentals, because that gives you the entire platform explained to you, and then figure out that specialty. So where do you want to, where are you curious about? Are you really curious about security, or do you not really care about, are you more in Power Platform? So pick your path from there and then go towards that direction. So fundamentals, I'm going to say, is the mandatory course because it explains everything, what they're called, the different terms, how to find pricing, all the basics to cover there, and then you determine where you're going from there. Okay, any other questions? So start with the fundamentals, get a little bit of labs if you can, attend the free course online. When you sign up for that, you'll get that free certificate to take the course. If you know anyone that has been laid off due to COVID, there's that $15 option to write the exam. It used to be $99, so it's a big deal. And every one of those certifications, to me, I say it's worth money to you because it gets you noticed and gets you out there. Remember, differentiating yourself, getting yourself considered an expert in the field. You want to be able to practice what you've seen as well and what you've done. But pick something you're interested in, and we can't force you. Don't do something you're like, oh, I heard the money's great, because you, after a while, it doesn't make sense anymore. Find something you're curious about.
I think there's someone asking in the chat about the Power BI fundamentals exam. I guess we just search it. Let's see.
What's the question? Sorry, I'm going to hide my screen, stop sharing. I can see my.
It's about the Power BI fundamentals exam. I think.
Yeah, so it's there. It's the PL 900, and unless they changed the number of it, it used to be called the PL 900. Do you see it there?
PL 900.
So that's a great one because it introduced. I took it to. It just introduces you to all the different concepts. And I remember in a previous company, I was trying to get those numbers, and those numbers are so valuable to management when they see what's going on with the numbers. So that's a great course, and it's not very complicated. I'm going to say it's one of the easier ones because all the tools, you're just connecting all the tools. So it's a great course. Anyone else of courses? That one's a wonderful one. I actually enjoyed that one a lot. Anyone else? But I know there's a lot to think of. The cloud as you're just your own computing center that you can use. You're just paying by usage. That's all it is. And you're renting what you need. Very welcome, Daisy. Thanks for putting that for the training days. Great. Yes, and they release them every 2 weeks, more courses. So if you see full up, just look again in 2 weeks to look it up. But they are worth $100 US. So take as many as you can while they're still giving them out for free. Okay, and you'll write the exam. They'll give you the information for the exam during the class. They'll say it'll come in the next 4 to 5 days. Here's your certificate. Go ahead and write that exam. You need 1 hour quiet time to write your exam.
That's amazing.
Once we complete the AZ fundamentals course,
yes.
So you mentioned about the voucher for writing the exam, right?
Yes. So they will automatically give you that.
Okay. So at the end of the course, they'll automatically give us.
It will say it'll take 3 to 4 days before it emails to you because we make sure you attended both courses. It checks it. And then they send you the voucher. Here's your voucher, book your exam. They walk you through the whole process to book your exam.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Anyone else wanting to ask anything?
Very welcome. Yes, the events are great. Honestly, we have a lot of people attend, and it's just nice to see so many people doing well. I just saw a girl, she's got an internship at Microsoft after taking 2 of the certifications. So you never know where it's going to take you, honestly. COVID makes things easier and harder. So it's harder because you're not going there, but it makes it easier because everyone's on the same playing field now. So it makes it easier for a lot of people as well. You don't have to travel to certain areas to be there in the country to work or elsewhere. So it's making things, it's changing things up, let's say. And for COVID, if you remember my previous presentation, I went from 2 certifications to 7. Because of COVID, I was home, I could study. So it gave me time to study. So hopefully you'll have the same problem, have time to study.
Yes, even I would agree with you. Like 2 days back only, I took my AZ 900 exam and I scheduled it for the next month because I was not sure that if I'm gonna learn about it or not. So I took duration of 1 more month so that I will be getting more time I could spend on it and I could practice on the platform. So that once I am more practiced into the fundamentals of Azure, then I'll be taking up the exam. So in the same manner. But now, when I have seen the training days, like I just googled about the Microsoft virtual training days, and I can see there are a lot of certificates or the examination that have been offered. But
Yeah.
at that moment, like a week or 2 weeks ago, I just only knew about the Azure Fundamentals
Yeah.
certification exam.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of fundamentals, as you know, Narth. So you can go into any of the different fields from there. If you're interested in security, go in there as well. Just great to even decide if you want to go from there. It's just that go attend it. If you don't like it, then don't do it anymore. It depends on what you like, right? And it's free, so it's not going to cost you to test it out. Attend it for free, decide if it's for you, and then decide what you want to do. Yeah. It's a big deal. I'm going to say it's a big deal because I've seen so many people do so well with these certifications. So that's why I'm trying to push it, not because I work for Microsoft. It's great as it's another badge in your resume, on your LinkedIn, everything. It just helps separate you. Remember I talked about separating yourself, becoming unique. These are part of the things that are going to make you unique. Anyone else? Okay, well, you have my contact information. My LinkedIn information, I think, was in the very beginning. Let me see if I can put it up on screen again. You can scan that. You can reach out to me if you need anything. Here's my LinkedIn information. Oh, yeah, it's here. Just going to put the slide on again one more time from current slide. I'm going to show my screen. Give me one sec. And I'm going to share my screen again one more time, just so you have my contact information. If you need to reach out, go ahead, reach out. But take those fundamentals, really, they're so important. That QR code takes you to my LinkedIn. But take the fundamentals, get an idea of what you like. Not everyone likes everything. Like certain things I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to do this anymore. But I did the first exam, and that's where I left it. But it depends on what you're interested in. But for sure, the data science, data platform, Power BI, big, big, big fields. And security, of course, is a big one. Okay. I'll hang around for a couple more